To make the best use of the session, I suggest you do two things. Number one, go through my theory session on legal reasoning. The link to the session is given on the description below. Second, create a free sign-up account on our website and solve the exercise on your own before you go through the video. The process for the free sign-up is also given on the description below. Now that you would have done both the things, let's start the class. Hi students, let's solve passage number 4. Okay, so it's a simple passage. If you read this quickly, and you should have actually attempted this on our website in a test form, and now you should have come here. Okay, so let's watch it. Let's watch the explanation. Let's solve it together. The proposal to further simplify the regulatory regime for startups is most important. In particular, the promise to create a tax compliance regime that would permit a startup to not spend more than an hour a month on tax matters sound most appealing. Now, words like these gives you the opinion of the author. See, in the passage, the question asks you the author is most likely to agree with. How do you figure that out? By referring to the adjectives that the author has used in the passage. Now, from this, I can infer that the author is in favor of this because it sounds appealing. Okay, and the scope, the reference point here is for startups. India has a considerable large startup ecosystem, and ensuring that the regulatory regime is conducive to innovation and setting up new businesses is essential for economic growth. Right? So you need to have a regime that is conducive to innovation, and setting up new business is essential for economic growth. Okay. The government has already put in place self-certification and other measures to ease compliance. So this is the goal of the tax regime, to ease compliance. The effort to reduce the time taken to comply with regulatory requirements without diluting the protection that the regulation provides is critical for sustainable economic growth. So you need to make the process not very cumbersome, but at the same time, you should not dilute the protection, because whenever you have regulatory regime, the objective of that is protection. So you should not dilute that, but should not make that cumbersome. Okay. A simpler regime must not become synonymous with lax regime, which is you are being complacent, nor with dilution of labor protection, security and safety, and environmental norms. So yes, you should make it a simpler regime, tax regime, but you should avoid these things, the other things. It must ensure that business have access to space to operate. This requires reasonable rents and stability of tenancy. This will mean critical functional markets in land and rental spaces. So the passage is simple. The passage is talking about what changes should be made in the regulatory system to promote startup ecosystem. So it should be made simple. At the same time, other things should be taken care of. So if I were to underline things, right, certain things, if I were to underline, once again, yeah. So I would underline this. The objective is to reduce the time taken without diluting the protection. And it should not become what? This 2, 3. All right. So this is what the passage is, quite straightforward. Let's come to the questions. The government proposed a new law that would require startups to prepare daily reports on various aspects of the business for submission to the tax authorities. Now, would the author be in support of such law? So this process, is it making the life of an entrepreneur simpler or more complex? It is making it complex, right? If you look at this one, to simplify, you have to simplify it, and this is appealing, and this is required for economic growth. So this is not simplifying the process. So our author will not support such a law. So answer is no. This is not relevant. No, since the law would increase the time spent on regulatory compliance. This is what the answer is. So first make the binary decision, yes or no, and then look at the explanation. So this was the answer. Let's go to 4.2. A new law is passed that permits startups to operate their offices 24 hours a day and removes an existing obligation to remove on them to provide transport for the female employees. Okay. This, so far as regulation is concerned, is not offering anything, but this is removing an obligation to provide transport to the female employees. So which part will come activated, which become activated here? Nor with dilution of labor protection, security and safety. So this is diluting security and safety. So our author would not be in favor of this one. Okay. It would not be valid since no, this is not the reason. No, it would not be valid since it is unfair. It is not unfair. No, it would not be valid since it compromises the safety. So this one is the relevant reason why it should not be valid. So the answer is C. Let's go to the next question. The government introduces a new law that prohibits landlords from increasing the rent they charge for startups more than 10% in a year. Based on the information and arguments in the given passage, is the author likely to support such a law? So what information will become relevant to answer this question? Look at this. This requires reasonable rents and stability of tenancy. So if landlords are not allowed to increase their rent randomly, that gives stability. So I know if I am an entrepreneur and I'm starting my, let's say, a new setup, and I know my rent will not be randomly increased. So let's say if I am running a successful business, my landlord might increase the rent, right? That, okay, now you are a success, let me increase it by 15-20%. But a law like this would give me stability because I will know that, okay, if my agreement is for 5 years, it will only increase by 10%. So I can plan my business accordingly. So yes, the author will support this since this provides startup stability and will ensure the reasonableness of rents in the long term. So here we get the answer from this criteria. Next one. Kabir starts a new company that provides offices on rent to start to other businesses. So you might say that Kabir is a startup. Yes, fair enough. And argues that the new law described in the previous question is invalid since it prevents him from growing his business. Why does it prevent him from growing his business? Because you can only increase your rent by 10%. So maximum that you can grow your business is only by 10%. Fair enough. So one property, you can only increase it by 10%. But to grow so you cannot grow it more than 10% one property. But you can buy another property, you can lease out another property. So you can grow business by getting more property in your fold, right? Also, so far as startup is concerned, the regulation is to make their life not cumbersome, to simplify their life, and to make their life stable. So this law is not hitting that so far as Kabir is concerned. So would Kabir challenge succeed? No. So the answer is no. Let's look at the reason. Since the law does not increase the regulatory burden on Kabir business, yes, they are not asking Kabir to file in more returns or to do more of paperwork. And he can grow his business through means other than increasing rents more than 10% every year. That's what I told you, right? So he can increase his business by getting more properties. Look at this. Since a rental business cannot be considered a startup, no, we cannot say this. So the answer is B. Last question of this passage. Which of the following is the author of the given passage most likely to agree with? Most. Okay, let's look at the first one. The government should focus all its policies on making matters easier for startup without regard to any other consideration. So first of all, guys, ye all is an extreme form. Government should focus on this. It does not say government should focus all its policies on this without regard. It says it should not become synonymous with lax regime, dilute protection of safety of employees. So you have to give regard to other considerations. So this is definitely out. Look at B. The government should try to achieve a balance between economic growth and protection of weaker and underprivileged sections of society, as well as of shared resources. So balanced growth होना चाहिए, passage में बोला है, because you should make it, you should simplify it, but you should not dilute protection. Protection of weaker and underprivileged sections कहीं नहीं बोला है, but as well of shared resources employees का होना चाहिए, ये वाला part नहीं बोला है. So I'll keep it for a while. It's definitely not a 100% wow answer, but let me keep it for a while. Let's look at C. Systemic reforms are unimportant and the government should focus solely on easing startups' regulatory compliance burdens. No. Other reforms are also required. It is mentioned in the passage. It's not just only you should focus on this. There are other aspects also. So this one is definitely out. Look at D. The most important. So this is extreme. The most important problem the startup face is a lack of access to space. No, we don't know what are the problems that are being faced by startup. And this, so definitely we can't say that this is the most important. This might be one of the problems that a startup is facing, but from the passage, we can't say that this is the most. So whenever you get an extreme form, guys, like all and most, it automatically is not incorrect, but you should try to get an evidence that backs that. So you can't get an evidence
that back this claim that all its policies, and you can't get an evidence from the passage that the most important problem is. This is one of the problems. So yeah, so it was, and here it was given, guys. It is required, but it should not become synonymous with this. Requires this other functional markets also. So not just one, you need to do other things also, and there has to be a balance. Okay, so guys, with this particular class is over. As I said, I would be solving minimum 24-25 passages with you as in this cycle, and obviously we will solve more later on. Also, if you want us to come up with videos on some other areas of your preparation, put it on the description box in the comment section. If we think it is relevant for your CLAT preparation, we will definitely make content on that. Also, when you're solving a question, and if you think that one particular choice to you makes more sense, put it on the comment section. We'll give you a detailed explanation that as to why that is not the answer and why the answer that we've given is the correct answer. Hope you liked the class. If you did, just click on the like button and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
We at Mentors Capital have curated the best test series for you. We can confidently claim that our test series is best in the market. So go and see it for yourself. Remember, coaching kahin se bhi. Test series from Mentors Capital.